How I Met Your Mother is perhaps my favorite television show of all time. Yes, even with its supposed horrible ending and all, it's still one of the finest pieces of television. But ever since the show ended, there was talks of making a spin-off to the show with a female narrating on how they met their children's father. Now, making a spin-off was not going to be easy, especially since the actual creators of How I Met Your Mother tried doing this and failed horribly.
This is my favorite song. It's set to ringtone called Xylophone. I wrote this on the long subway home.
I was honestly hoping this whole How I Met Your Father rumor was a total lie, but they just kept pushing and pushing it until Hulu finally announced that the spinoff was indeed happening. And now that it's finally out, you're probably expecting a mega fan of How I Met Your Mother to flat out hate it. Well, it's not bad, but let me explain. The show isn't horrible, it just feels unpolished. And it doesn't know if it wants to follow in the same footsteps as How I Met Your Mother and not be a full-blown sitcom, or do a by-the-numbers sitcom. Its pilot was also a huge letdown, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Most TV pilots are huge letdowns when you compare it to the rest of the show. Just look at Friends or Seinfeld. Those pilots are horrible when you compare it to the rest of the show. But even then, I'd probably still take those pilots any day than this pile of garbage. Luckily, the show does get better as time goes on, but this pilot is really bad. The biggest issue with the show so far is the characters themselves. Our main character, Sophie, starts the show, and instead of having the shot of the kids hearing the story, we instead get adult Sophie calling her son who's off screen. This is probably so they aren't forced into an ending like How I Met Your Mother, and honestly I was fine with the ending, but we'll discuss my feelings about that in another video. She starts off with probably what is the worst joke in television history.
Because I want to tell you the story of how I met your father.
I already know how you met Dad.
You know the basics. But it's time for me to tell you the unabridged version.
How many glasses of that wine have you had?
Just enough to include the sexy bits.
Oh, good God, here we go.
The funny thing about How I Met Your Mother is how Ted pretty much told his kids how many times he's fucked their aunt and many other women before meeting their mom. But he does it in such a nonchalant way. So nonchalant that we never actually hear him say it. Imagine if the star of the show was, "Kids, I'm going to tell you an incredible story. The story of how I met your mother."
Are we being punished for something?
No.
Yeah, is this gonna take a while?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you all the times I've boned your Aunt Robin too. Sophie doesn't stop there. She says an even worse joke.
Oh, actually, can I use it? Because my phone's belly is hungry. She's all, feed me, mama.
I think this was done to show the audience how quirky Sophie is, but it comes off really forced and extremely cringy. Like, I had to pause it for a second just it was so bad. She does become better and not as cringe as the series goes on, but it's really hard to come back from two of the worst jokes in television history. We also get Jesse, who seems like the Robin of the group, but in reality, he's much more like Ross from Friends. If you take everything likable about him, and he's just the mopey side of Ross. So far, he's probably my least favorite character, and has the dumbest plot device I've ever seen. He basically is a famous meme because he tried to propose to his girlfriend, and he got rejected. In a usual situation, people wouldn't be laughing and calling the video #proposal but they need a backstory on why he doesn't believe in happily ever after. There is another reason they could have went with, but they had to go with #proposal because comedy, right? The reason that would have worked so much better segues into our next character, Ellen, who's Jesse's adopted sister. Ellen is honestly one of the biggest wastes of potential. Her introduction is really poorly executed, as she just straight up explains her character archetype rather than us being shown what she means to the series. Again, I don't want to keep going back and using How I Met Your Mother as an example, but its pilot is done exceptionally well. We don't have the main characters explaining their character archetypes. We're shown it through their conversations with each other. You literally could replace Ellen's introduction with, "Hi, I am not the lead of this show, rather a main supporting character. I will almost never be a part of the A plot in an episode, and probably not even the B plots in some weeks. Luckily, they fix her character up, but she's still going to be relegated to the B plots throughout the entire show. Now, Jesse's reason for not wanting to get married would have worked so much better had they used the fact that when Jesse was 9, their parents got divorced and he hadn't really seen his sister until very recently. You can make it so he doesn't want to put future children through that pain him and his sister went through by being separated, but instead we get hashtag proposal fail. Our next character is Sid, and he has little to no personality. In the first episode, he gets engaged to his long-distance girlfriend, and we barely see her again. The only noteworthy thing about his character is that he has shockingly good chemistry with the other female lead, Valentina, who is just as bland. She basically is just overly sexual in everything she does. The thing is, he has way more chemistry with her than his fiancée. I think this has to do with the fact that his fiancée isn't a main character on the show, but I feel like that relationship is going to fall off very soon, and he should end up with Valentina. I'd say that, but the other relationship in the show is Valentina's new boyfriend, Charlie, who is kind of the Joey Tribbiani of the group, except he's British and comes from wealth. He's dumb, but a ladies' man. The characters are definitely the biggest issue with this show, but another issue I have is that every episode is overflooded with relationship drama. I get that's the main plot of the show, but take How I Met Your Mother, and there's plenty of episodes that don't deal with relationships 24/7. It becomes way too tiring constantly having relationship drama after relationship drama. It also makes it seem like the end goal for these people in the show is relationships, when in real life, that's not how it is. In How I Met Your Mother, it's not a happily ever after story when you meet your significant other, because life isn't like that. But here it seems like they're going to go the Friends route of once they find their significant other, their entire character arc just halts because there's nothing more to develop. Just look at Chandler from the episode he got with Monica to the end and tell me he's really changed that much. Now look at Ted from when he got left at the altar to Ted before Barney and Robin's wedding, and tell me that guy did not go through a massive change in character. Now, it could work if the characters are as interesting as the characters from Friends, but like I said, that's the worst part of this entire show, the characters. And then one of the biggest problems that everyone is saying is a great idea is that we are told that Sophie met the father during the events of episode 1. This is much different than How I Met Your Mother in that we meet the mother at the end of season 8. It's a cool change of pace, but it opens up a whole new can of worms by doing this, and it shows off the worst sitcom trope ever, the will they, won't they. The Ross and Rachel relationship in Friends was amazing at times, but it became quite tiring after a while. The show seems to point to Jesse and Sophie getting together, and I'm sure at the end of season 1 there's going to be a point where they're both about to finally start dating, and then out of nowhere Josh Peck or the Tinder guy comes in and breaks it all up. It happened twice in season 1 of Friends, so it's probably going to happen here. How I Met Your Mother may have waited 8 full seasons to reveal the mother, but it also never had a will they won't they situation with Ted, because even though we get similar story beats with Ted and Robin as we do Ross and Rachel, we are immediately told that she is their Aunt Robin. So no matter how many times he gets with her or confesses his love for her, we know she isn't the mother of Ted's kids. I will say though, it's much better than what they were planning on doing for How I Met Your Dad, when they literally reveal the father at the end of episode 1. I'm not fucking making this up. Overall, I don't think the show is that bad and does have potential. I think every episode has gotten better and better, so there's definitely growth, but when you only have 10 episodes in a season, it's pretty bad when some of your early episodes aren't very good and your characters are kind of bland. I am going to watch the entire season and probably the rest of the show and give a fair and honest opinion, but I don't think this show will be anything more than an average sitcom. It's really hard to follow one of the best television shows ever, and it's almost impossible to try to distance this show from its predecessor, but I will try my absolute best. Anyways, it is me, Michael, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.